Hey, welcome to the First Layer. My name's Richard. You know that guy. That's Brian Baker. And he's got a little bit of a fire going on in the background. He's just made it bigger.
Everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure. Let's say it is.
Sure, let's say it is. What the heck?
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Happy Sunday. That's right. Well, welcome to our new time and day for TFL, the Ask for Help Live. This is our live stream that we are doing every week. Going into 2021, because 2020 was such a dumpster fire this year, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, yeah, wasn't it? I'm sure a lot of you guys know that it was just a crap year. Can't say the other word, but you can say crap. So, and still be family friendly.
It was very ship-like.
Yeah, hey, I want to remind you guys that we've got Super Chat turned on today, and if you want to use the Super Chat, you can, and you will hear that sound when we see a Super Chat on the screen come up. And wow, we got a lot of people already in our room today. Let's see if I can go back to the top and say hi to everybody. We got Pierre.
We can do this. You ever done that participants list?
No, where's the participant?
If you hit the triple dots up by top chat there and hit participants, give us the list. So we got 3D Printing Milan and DJ Minema. Hopefully I got that right. Corey Mack, Dean Hintz, Dominic Versetto, Guy the Jedi, or Guy the Jedi. We'll figure that out one of these days.
Yeah, one of these.
John Kruger, Lockiness, Nas, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Nas Masalma, sorry. Pierre Radmaster and Tom Taylor. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to our Sunday afternoon live stream. Before we get started into the questions, I will tell you Super Chat's great for questions because if you want to get your questions at the head of the line, the Super Chat is definitely a way to go. Paul Cumber, welcome and have a very Merry Christmas to you as well. And to everybody, John Kruger also wishing us a very Merry Christmas. Christmas is right around the corner. What's that?
Jorgen Kaink. I think I got that right. Hello from Denmark. Good afternoon. What is the time there? I'm curious what the time is like for you guys. It's midday here. Here's our situation, our local one. It's warmed up to just, I think, in the mid-40s, if I know my American math right. It's about 7 degrees Celsius here, but now we're under winter storm warning, and we're dropping to the 20s Fahrenheit, -7, -8 in the next 24 hours. So our heads are like these fires, you know? Sorry for my low-grade, edits here where you can kind of still see the fire through my arm. I bought a very big humble bundle of effects. Yeah.
Broke the illusion.
I like it. It's pretty cute.
There you go. It's Guy Italian, not French Guy. It's Guy.
Okay. I always check a Guy. Yeah, Guy the Jedi. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's clear blue skies here, but I've heard to the west of us they've been getting a heavy winter snow, so they're telling people don't go to the mountains. So yeah, we're hunkering down for some couple weeks of 3D printing.
Yeah. Well, we're taking our winter break. This is our last official live stream of the year. However, that being said, first I want to welcome everybody again. If you are new here, this is your first time, put new in the comments or in the chat so we know that you're new here. And welcome if you are new here. My name's Richard Cleveland. That's Brian Baker. We are not experts in the field of 3D printing, but we've been doing it long enough, and we've been learning and training ourselves to know more than the average bear. And we want to take our knowledge and impart it on you for the things that we do. So with that said, talking about our last official live stream, today I put up a poll both on Facebook and on our YouTube community, and asking you if you would like Brian and I. Brian's going to be remote like he is now because COVID-19 says we can't get together. So
I'm here with all you in my hearts.
I'm going to set up multiple cameras here and build a 3D printer straight out of the box. So we have two to choose from. I think we're going to make it real easy and choose the one that I'm thinking about. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's going to be secret, but it doesn't matter what printer we're going to build, because at the end of the day, all of these printers are very, very similar. And what we do to build them is really not the informative part. What we do to tune them to get them to print right out of the box and have a great first print is what you're really going to be interested in if you are new to 3D printing. And maybe you're expecting a printer for Christmas. Or you may be getting some accessories. We're going to talk a little bit about that in today's show as well.
Now, apologies, I had to do a big OBS reinstall here, so as I'm dinking around with things, you may see me fade in and out. It's because I'm trying to set up these new scenes, because I do have something cool to show you guys today. Which,
you do?
Yeah, it's not something... For those of you who know, I have been very absent the past few months, and it's because of rage quitting and turning my CR-10 S5 into this.
I'm just going to go to your screen here.
Let's see if we can pull it full screen here. Welcome to my Core XY CR-10 S5 Beta Test 1. This machine, I got so mad at it that I probably spent more than a machine of this design would actually cost. But I custom designed my own Core XY belt design. They're a combination of 3D printed parts, CNC'd parts, 4 linear rails, 4 Z rods. I've kind of, and you can see I've got a bunch of super steppers there at the bottom. This has been my prototyping nightmare for the past few months, and all of which has taught me a lot more about kinematics and motor design than I ever thought I would learn. And there's still a lot of dialing in to go in on this machine. I'll have to grab it for you guys before the end of the stream today, but I've got the best layer shift. I bet you guys can't beat this layer shift, and that's what happens when you don't know how to design diddly squat.
Was that what you're calling it now? Diddly squat?
Diddly squat, yeah. That's
okay.
That's my nice way of saying I wanted to punch my machine. Yeah, Gregor, you might as well take the parts and go Voron. You know what happened? Here's a story for you this week. I did all this custom design, and I walked into Spool 3D, and I was telling Derek, the owner, about it, and he's like, oh, like a Voron. I'm like a what? So I think I just reinvented the wheel for no reason. But hey, you know what? It works. It's actually kind of cool because I've got 2 TMC 5160s driving all 4 Z rods combined, and getting that load balancing was a lot of fun. It's all about alignment. So if there's one thing I can tell you guys, angle brackets do not keep anything square. You really need to drill your own pilot holes and thread the rods and do it the proper way. Now, me, I am not a machinist, so I have limited tools available to me. I've got a CNC guy that can custom cut any of my SVGs that I design for custom parts, but when it comes down to drilling and stuff, I bought the Dremel drill press. It's too weak to drill through aluminum. I've got access to a drill press, but it's a little wobbly. And if you don't have a proper setup to drill these holes and you're slightly off, it will be permanently off. And I've got a pile of aluminum to show you guys what happens when something goes wrong. Needless to say, this machine, it actually does print fairly well so far. It's just the horrible layer shifts because of my belt design. So that's what I'm working on after the show today.
So Dominic Versetto says, I installed a Titan extruder. Good for you. After printing flow calibration cubes, I reduced flow to 85%. Will I need to adjust the line width as a result? You should not have to adjust the line width, because the line width is going to be the same regardless of what type of extruder you're using. Just make sure that you are close enough to the bed to get that 0.4 millimeter width. If you're wider than that, you may want to bring up the nozzle away from the bed a little bit. Always watch that stuff. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and go into a little bit more detail when we do the build on the 27th. That's the day after Boxing Day. We decided not to do it on Boxing Day. We decided to do it on our Sunday at noon. Now, this upcoming stream that we're going to do is probably going to last a lot longer than an hour. So buckle in, get yourself something to drink. If you're finishing off your eggnog, it might be a good time to do that.
Drop some off.
So let's take the only letter that we got this week.
That's a bittersweet thing. Thank you, guys. It's good to hear that you're not having printer issues, but
there we go. This comes from Pedro Ballester. He says, thanks for all your help. Could you cover the prevention of printer fires? You've got a printer fire in the background. Comments on polypropylene bed. Okay, printer fires occur when the part of it occurs when you have breaks in your thermistor line or your heater cartridge line, and you don't have thermal protection turned on. When you don't have thermal protection turned on, those things, if they're arcing, they could burn out your whole machine. They could start the machine on fire. If they are good and you don't have these protections turned on in firmware, what happens is that heater cartridge is just going to keep heating and heating and heating and heating. And then eventually it's going to burst into flames because those heater cartridges are only meant to go to a certain level. Now, in the new year, Brian and I have discussed this. We're going to do a breakdown of different styles of heater cartridges. And what is good for one is definitely not good for the other. And if you want to print higher temperature materials like nylon or PEEK or any of those kinds of materials, you're going to need to go to a heater cartridge and thermistor system that will handle those upgraded types of heat that you want to get. So we're going to talk about that in the new year. We've got a show that we're planning really to break down the differences between them. We're also going to be talking about Cura 4.8. We're going to take you guys through the differences between some of the slicers that are out there. We're going to talk about the best free ones. We're going to talk about some of the paid ones. We're going to talk about those for beginners and those for intermediates. Because this is what this show is all about. Our knowledge is to help you get better prints at the end of the day and to help you ease your way into this hobby a lot easier than some people have done. And now your hair's on fire. It's distracting.
Yes, yeah. This is talking about fires. Fires are entirely preventable. You know, we spoke about Smokey the Bear all the time growing up. You know, only you can prevent forest fires. Well, it's the same with printer fires. Honestly, if you take a look at it, the printer fires, I can probably count the number of printer fires that have been on the market on both my hands. And if you consider that as a ratio of all the machines out there, it's very minimal. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just means that it's very uncommon. And I'm hoping if the cards play right, I'll be able to maybe set fire at least to a couple pieces of equipment come the spring here to show you guys how that all rolls down. Because the fact of the matter is it's going to continuously superheat. There's only one core design issue I have with all motherboards on the market right now in dealing with preventing fires, and that's something we're going to kind of dig into further. But the fact is, a good up-to-date firmware and knowing what the firmware is on your printer will help give you assurance that the likelihood of that happening is extremely minimal. If you want to buy one of those fireballs, if you want to buy a smoke detector, I've got some battery ones that I picked up on Black Friday that are good for 10 years on battery. Just put one of those over your machine. And unless you're running it in a warehouse, you only check in on it every 3 days or so, I think you'll be okay. You're more likely to set fire to your stove.
One of the things that we've got planned for the New Year's, we are going to get back to basics, especially at the beginning of the year, as we do every year, just because a whole lot of new people have joined our community and a whole lot of new people are just starting in the hobby. We want to cover the bases. Yes, it's going to be elementary to some of you guys that have been here for a while and have seen this stuff, but as we move forward through the year, we want to do a lot more tutorials this coming year, but we have a great, two really, really good printers that we're going to be reviewing in the first part of the new year that you guys are really going to like. One is an iDeck, really good iDeck, and the other one is a CR-10S kind of print. It's the same size. But yes, let's get to NASA's question here. Does I have a Tronny XY2 Pro, need to keep setting my Z0 before every print? Anything I should be looking into? Brian?
Well, I was just quickly looking this one up. It uses one of my least favorite types of auto bed leveling sensors, which is the infrared sensor. And so the infrared sensor, I wish, you know what, actually, I think I can probably, let's see if we can twirl up to my fancy lights above me here. Let's see if we can see these. It's going to kind of be in the corner, and yes, there's going to be fire on the screen because I'm kind of low tech here. But you can see there's actually a little sensor up here for these lights, and if I tap over it, oh, it's actually dimming because I'm within proximity. You can tap it, or you can go within close, and you can actually fade it and change the brightness. So let's see. So you can see it's kind of a pain in the butt. It doesn't always work perfectly, but this is kind of the same technique used on these sensors. And what you're going to see with them is, unless they're dialed in, sorry, this thing is actually really terribly calibrated here. What you're going to see is it basically just doesn't line up. It doesn't read the same point every time unless you've tuned in your threshold for light detection. Now, the way it works is you've got a receiver here, and you've got a light output here, and it shoots out a constant light going this way. Now, I'm going to bring my mic into shot here. If we use your mic as the probe coming down, it waits, or that's the bed, it waits until it bounces off the bed and hits that sensor. Now, that's very sporadic, okay? Sorry, I'm getting my whole mic set up here, so I'm moving all over the map, but what the basis is, it's not a very accurate sensor, even when you dial them in really tight. So my advice is go with something more reliable if you can fit it in there. Depending on how heavy your adjustments are every time, you might be able to reduce that. Usually these have an adjustment knob, like a little Phillips style or flathead screwdriver slot for you to go and tweak it. I'm sure there's probably a manual from them on how to adjust that. Unfortunately, I don't know that model. But it's just not a great sensor, so you are going to be adjusting it quite a bit. Hopefully that. What do you think, Richard?
I think you nailed that one. It's exactly right. When you've got those IR sensors, they don't quite work as well as they should. And that's why, I'm just going to go to my overhead here really quickly. Let's see if I can pull that one up. There we go. So in the overhead, you can see that we've got a Creality BL Touch here. It's brand new. So this is a BL Touch. Now this is for the Creality V1, but it doesn't matter. You can put this on a V2 board or a V3 board, whatever you like. You can see how the pin pushes down. This, to me, is by far the most superior sensor on the market. Because what happens is when it senses that, it's going to push it in so far, and then there's a magnet in here that's going to grab it and pull it the rest of the way when it gets within that distance. And then it'll deploy again and do the same thing. So by far, this is the most superior sensor on the market, in my opinion. Now, some other people might have a different opinion, but these, it doesn't matter if your bed's hot, cold, it doesn't matter. These will always work. Now, where you run into trouble is in the cabling. If you haven't set up the cabling properly, and in most cases, these are going to come with some sort of instruction sheet on how to set up the cabling. But at the end of the day, keep an eye out for the type of sensor that you have. If you've got a sensor that is working good for you, then by all means stick with it. But if you are not, or if you don't, then at the end of the day, I would say to go ahead and get yourself into a much better sensor. And that should solve some of your problems. Now, you are going to have to manipulate your firmware as well, because not all firmware is built the same. Depending on the machine that you're using, you may have to go in and make some adjustments. So Trevor Rickard says, I have a quick question for y'all. What does it mean when you get small bumps on your first and second layer? That means you're too close to the bed. What's happening is as the nozzle goes across the bed, and I think I've got a nozzle right here, as the nozzle, and I'll go back to my overhead.
Yeah, we're just going to keep shooting back and forth.
Yeah, as the nozzle goes across the bed, laying down your filament, what's happening if it's too close on its return, because this nozzle is hot, it's actually that plastic that you just put down is sticking to it, and it's coming up just a bit, even though it's laying down another line. So I would just double check your bed leveling and make sure that your nozzle is not too close.
Now I'm gonna pull up this great photo. I think it originated from Simplify 3D's site here, or a couple other users. Unfortunately, everybody copies and pastes it, so my apologies. Let's see if I can grab it here. Is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so I'm going to blow this up in terrible resolution over my ugly mug here. What you got to understand about nozzle height, it's a really funny, finicky setup, but basically, based off your material, you can see it's quite clear. Nozzle too high, not enough pressure. Now, when you're actually printing PETG on this, you actually want to go for that top one because it likes to flow out and sit naturally. But with PLA, you're going to want that nozzle height where it just kind of smears itself across the surface. And if you notice with the bottom one not too low, they're actually showing little gaps in your filament flow. But what I find, if you take a look at the photo on the right, is that it is nozzle, it bulges out, it swells on itself. And when you're dealing with pressure, pressure's not always even, and that's the whole fight with 3D printing, is to get pressure to be even, and that changes. Your pressure parameters change based off your filament, your temperature, your slicer, everything. So you're doing a lot of guesstimating to get it right. But if you have too much pressure in that nozzle, you're going to see it's going to sputter it out a little bit, and eventually it's going to find a piece of filament that has a little lower viscosity than the rest, that it'll be able to shove that extra back pressure out through the nozzle. And that's when you start getting wobbles on your first layer. That's when you start getting, when you're doing your back and forth there, you start getting your nozzle to, your filament coming out of the nozzle starts to swell over onto the layers you've already printed, and then you get wobbles. And then as well, too, if there's too much material in there and it can stay too warm for too long, then you can get warping. So there's a whole plethora of things that can go wrong. So this is my go-to photo. Whenever in doubt, is adjust it so that it's basically just coming out of the nozzle, but it's not squishing and swelling out. If your filament line that you're printing on that base layer is wider than the end tip of your nozzle, then you've gone too close. Hopefully that helps.
Peter Reynolds says, any chance you guys could do a show on the best and easiest design programs to use to make your own designs? Yes, absolutely. We've got that in the queue for shows that we're doing in the new year.
If you drill back, there was a night, I can't remember where Richard was, but I soloed out a live stream, I think on a Saturday night there, and I went through designing the most random, stupid, pointless part in Fusion 360, but it showed you all the different tools. And so if you want a kind of a kickstart, until we get that episode out, take a look at that and see if any of the things I covered in there is useful for your design. My simple answer, I still use Fusion 360. I know there's a lot of flack about their changing of what's included in the free package, but hey, it's still free, and it's still, every design feature I use is still available as an end user. Yes,
absolutely. Any chance you can make some gray smoke on this stream?
Let me see what I've got.
Have you got gray smoke?
Here. I might have something. So Humble Bundle, for those of you who don't know, has a deal on visual effects right now, and it was like $35 Canadian. I'm like, whatever, that looks not too bad. And then I downloaded it, and it was 150 gigs of video files. I extracted was 200 gigs, and then I had to upload it to my OneDrive for Richard and I. So I saturated my internet connection this week, but I've got way too many fun special effects here. Most of it is gun stuff, but I got like, let's see what we got here. We got lightning. That one's kind of cool. But I just didn't want to put too much flicker on people's faces and all that. And provide photosensitivity issues today. I just played around with it. That's why we have the dumpster fire here happening. Which funny story. The reason I put the fire on there. Ooh, we're quickly becoming Seinfeld, aren't we?
We are.
So what? I'm printing a Mandalorian helmet behind me, and if you see all that tape in between there, what happened is we put a center pull up to handle the nose piece there, and it kept failing. So we kept on putting pieces of tape in there to restore it. And let's see if we could actually zoom in on it there. I'm gonna try to freehand this. It's almost working. It was working, and then it fell off again. So welcome to my losing battle here.
Well, we all have that from time to time.
Yeah, that's the nature of technology. Like we're not immune to printer failures, guys. We are human. So I'm checking this one through because actually the rest of it's printing so nicely right now that I figured, you know what? Let's just go and see if we can recover from this later on.
There you go.
And then if we do, I'll share some techniques with you guys.
And we're going to have more of this
Well, that's
in the
wrong.
new year.
When did this show become
we know who sends these out.
It's a ducky. Oh, okay.
Ducky.
I thought we were going on a mature rating show.
No, if we were, it'd be that.
That'll be on Patreon eventually, or OnlyFans, or if we get desperate enough, OnlyFans. Yeah.
OnlyFans. Yeah. There we go.
Oh, we're terrible people.
We are. It's
do not Google what that is if you don't know what it is. That's my family show warning. Do not.
It's our last official show of the year, so
it is true.
We can have fun. I hope everybody's got a good drink in front of them. Matt says
this is Coffee Champion.
So. Yeah, I got water here somewhere. There we go.
Okay, so recently I've been having problems removing rafts. They're fused to my prints, whereas they used to peel right off. Any tips for settings that help solve this issue? If you haven't changed any of your settings, it sounds like your Z offset's actually changed a little bit there, because inside your slicer, there's a setting for a gap between your raft and your model, and that usually stays fixed. If you change that and reduce that height to get a smoother bottom, then you are going to find it is harder to remove. Your material may have also changed a little bit if it's a bit hotter. Personally, I actually stopped using rafts recently because in order to get that nice clean separation, the height that at least Cura sets as default is quite a bit high, and so your bottom surfaces just look like a mangled mess. So rather than tweak it, I've just been working on actually improving my bed adhesion, and as you guys have seen, as I've mentioned before, energetic flex plates is what I'm using, and I don't need rafts or anything. I just get a bit of a textured bottom. On the other side of that sheet is a flat surface, a smooth PEI, which I haven't personally tried. But I'm moving away from rafts. I don't think there's actually much of a need for rafts with today's bed adhesion methods.
And you would be right about that. I don't use rafts very often either. Sometimes I do when I'm printing ABS parts. I like to use rafts because some of the stuff that I'm doing is usually very, very small, and a raft gives me more surface detail or more surface space for it to hold down.
Right, because I got some pieces here from my machine, which hopefully they come through smooth. This is the top layer. You can see this is PETG. I haven't done much to calibrate it, which is why it's a little rough. But here's the bottom from the energetic flex plate. It's smooth. It does the job. There's a couple little hiccups you can see where I had some filament kind of not sticking properly, but it adhered just like a rock to that flex sheet. I've got another piece here, which I had a brim on that I've taken off with one of the deburring tools we've talked about a few times. And the bottom is clean. There's no swelling. If we get up, I don't know if it'll focus there, but there's no, what do we call them there? Horse hooves or whatever with the coming out there. Everyone has a different name. Elephant's foot. I don't have any of that. The PEI flex sheets, for those of you, especially the textured ones, remove the need for any bed adhesion methods such as glue sticks and so forth. And the nice thing is the ripple on it is high enough that if your Z offset is not perfect, there's a good chance the pressure equalization we were just talking about will get kind of absorbed in little ruts on that, which will actually increase your bed adhesion. If that bed is still hot and you try to rip that thing off, you're going to be fighting with it for a bit. But if you let that bed cool right back down to 20 degrees, you could almost blow it off with your own breath because it's just the nature of the adhesion. And I swear by these sheets. You know, it's not often I say there's no reason for you not to get one, but really there's no reason for you not to, especially with their availability in all the 3D printing stores, on Amazon, and on everything now. The big ones get a little expensive. You know, my CR-10S V was almost $100 Canadian, but for the Ender 3s, like the 235 by 235, even if you have a 220 by 220, just grab that one and cut it up, whatever you need to do. They're like $20, $30 on Amazon with the magnetic sheet. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree.
And that
NASA's asking, yeah, NASA's asking, have I been reading? I have been reading about beds and can't decide on which material is best to use: glass, mirror, magnetic sheet, etc. I've been using masking tape on my stock plastic bed. Here's my thought on that, and this is just my thought. I use mirror and glass, depending on which side, which one I have at the particular moment. Now, I do have some flex sheet, so I'm using really a combination of all of them. For me, I still say that glass is the best. Glass or mirror. Mirror is going to be flatter than glass in a lot of cases because it has to be flat. Because if it's not, you get that funhouse look. So
it's a higher grade glass, basically.
It is.
And the only reason they're as cheap as they are is because mirrors are used so regularly.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it would be a very expensive piece of glass. Look up the price of, what was it, borosilicate? Is that how we pronounce it?
Borosilicate glass, yeah. That's
that's
typically what you're going to find on a 3D printer is borosilicate.
Yeah. So here's your standard crummy Ender sheet that comes with the printers. I can't recall if this is a sheet of PEI plastic underneath or not. It's firm. It's really rigid. And then what they've done is they've kind of glued on the top of it this build tack-esque surface. Now the problem with these is, you know what? I can go and hit like that, put a scrape through it. You know, put some pressure on it, give some divots. It's never going to recover. It's done from that point. You know, you're going to have lots of bed adhesion issues. And then as I rub my fingers across this, you know, I'm a clean guy, but hey, it's still quite oily already, right? It absorbs all the greases in your hands and all that. It's junk. So now, now we get to the good stuff here. These are the energetic sheets. Now you can see I've still actually got some other materials on here, just little stuff. This is some TPU. This is some PETG, just stuff I haven't ripped off the surface yet. But look, I just took that piece right off, but it's still stuck to the surface until I popped it off. Now, these ones come with the textured side, and you can see, look at the detail of that texture. You know, it's a PEI flash across the top there. So all those little divots give something for your filament to drag across and stick to. Now, some people don't like this finish, right? You know, as I said, for the parts I'm doing here, for this sort of finishing, let's see if it'll actually zoom in on it. It's not a bad texture. But if you really want that mirror's finish, what I never realized is when you get these sheets, you get a double-sided. And this side is almost mirror-like. And you can see, based off all my fingerprints in there, is that you can print on this side too, because that's also PEI. So you have the flexible options. This is also magnetic, so it will conform to all the little divots on your bed. Now that's kind of the only risk of getting these. If you go this route, either have a BL touch or know that your bed surface is flat, because this is just going to accent those problems. However, my God, guys, everything sticks to this. It's every material I've printed, well, I haven't done PEI, but PETG, ABS, PLA, TPU, HIPS, you name it. It's stuck to there, and the only risk at damaging the bed, which I don't have on this sheet, but I did it downstairs, was I tried to pull a print off early, and I have a tiny little divot out of the PEI itself. The metal is fine, but the PEI has a little divot in one spot, maybe at most a millimeter across, and so I know just kind of to avoid printing in that area or print right across it. But at the price of these sheets, it's a no-brainer.
3D printing, or 3D print newbie Milan, he says, hey guys, on the subject of the BL Touch, I have one, and I also have the SPR Mini version 2. I'm not familiar with the SPR Mini version 2.
SKR, I think is what he meant. Yeah.
Oh, SKR. Okay.
Yep.
I have downloaded the file and put it onto the SD card. Do I install the file first? You can do it either way. You can install the BL Touch and then install the software. or install the software and then hook up the BL Touch. Either way.
You can. The base firmware that's on that chip is fine. For those of you who don't know about the hardware installation of the BL Touch, it's using pins that are otherwise unused, with the exception of the Z-end stop. So I don't advise. I mean, you can power up with everything plugged in, even if you haven't configured it for it. It will work fine, but don't start printing, or you're going to have it, pardon me, crash into the bed or do something fun.
There you go. And it looks like we've got. Oh, we got to have another question. This is from Guy the Jedi. He says, has someone printed with ASA? I heard it's a new ABS that doesn't warp. What are the heat settings for it? I haven't printed with ASA. Have you?
I've done a little bit. I've done a little bit with ASA, but it's I'll be honest with you guys. If you're gonna try to look for an ABS replacement, PETG is kind of the easiest to jump with, and I think it's CNC Kitchen has done some excellent pressure tests against all the filament. I couldn't even begin to test with that, but he's got the proper rig. Check out his videos about strength. He's done several videos on it, including one I think last week where he was talking about layer adhesion strength based off the temperature of what you're printing your filament at. And it's worthwhile to understand. ABS, everyone jumps to it because you print it for outdoor use. So PLA warps from the UV light and cracks a lot. PETG, I haven't done a test on that yet, but if you're not doing outdoor stuff, PETG is great. As I've been showing off all the pieces here, PETG is dirt cheap right now too. I think I paid $15 to $20 a kilo Canadian for it, and you'll see. I mean, I'm reaming on this, and it's got its elasticity. It bounces right back to where it needs to. And in the photos earlier, I think you might have seen a couple of these pieces. This is what's lifting my big printer on its Z-rod, and even that little piece there, it requires a lot of force for me to even get any flex in this area, which I could have resolved with more design tricks and stuff, such as chamfer or filleting this corner to smooth it off. Different things like that. You can actually, if you look close, I'm pretty sure you might actually be able to see through this. This is only 2 walls and 10% infill. This stuff, PETG rocks. Honestly, give it a chance. And you don't need a part cooling fan, and you don't need an enclosure.
There you go.
And it doesn't stink.
The Scarecrow, he's asking, I recently got a CR-10 V2. Does that come with thermal runaway enabled, or do I have to need to download that from Creality? I will tell you straight up that Creality has that enabled right out of the factory. In the beginning, when Creality was just starting to come out on the market, people were starting to catch on to them, they didn't. When they hadn't had all their firmware released and things like that, it was not enabled. Now, in the last year, and year plus actually, they have enabled it on every machine that leaves the factory, so you can be sure that when you buy a Creality, that thermal runaway is enabled. Okay, you don't have to worry.
Yeah, that was when it wasn't enabled. They were on, I think, firmware 1.0.1, and Marlin was already doing 2.0 beta branches. Creality was really behind, and when they were dropping new machines, they would just take their known model from CR10, modify the build plate, and be done with it. So it wasn't really until the Enders came out that people started having thermal runaway issues and risks with fires and the issue with crimping and all that, that they really took a good look back at their source code and updated all and enabled those features. Originally, I know with the CR10, they did experiment with it on a few firmwares, and then they didn't get their tuning thresholds correct, so everyone's printer is thermal runaway. So they said, we'll just turn off the feature rather than dialing it in. Adjusting that is a very easy feature, and we will probably, once I get this big printer going, I'll take you guys through the steps of how to adjust those numbers to know what they mean, so that you know when you get a thermal runaway, this is your reasoning why. Because right now, the answer is you probably broke a cable or it didn't heat quick enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with you there. Usually, if you're going to get it now in a Creality product, because there's something else going on. Philip Sowerby, Sowerby, I hope I got that right. Great to be able to watch you live for the first time from the UK. Well, welcome. You guys do a great job.
I think it's about 8 p.m. there, 7 or 8 p.m.
Yeah, it should be, yeah. He says, you do a great job of making 3D printing accessible with your clear answer. Thank you. Well, we do appreciate you being a part of our community, Philip. We really love that. Yeah, thank you.
We always love chatting with people. You know, this is we do this for a reason because we do enjoy talking with you guys.
Yeah.
While we were reading that, I just noticed how the flames from my animation are just in the corner. It caught me off guard for a second. I said, "What?"
Every once in a while, there's a little flame that appears above your head too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The little spark. I got rid of that one because it was strobing too much.
Oh, gotcha. I want everybody to say hi to my wife, Jerry. She is over on the chat tonight. She's the one who's sending all of your chat messages or your questions to the screen this evening or this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are.
I don't even know where I am anymore, so don't worry. We're all good.
I'm kind of in that same vein right now. We love what we do there. There's a hi, Jerry from Guy the Jedi. And he spelled her name right.
And he spelled my name right. Yeah.
There you go. There's DeWitt.
Yeah.
Speaking of DeWitt, DeWitt 3D made a comment earlier. He says, I've successfully printed with Filament ASA 270 on the nozzle and 100 on the bed. So you're doing a hotter nozzle than you would for ABS or even for PETG, but the bed's relatively right in that ballpark.
There's a lot of really cool filaments out there, and we don't cover them a lot because we don't use them a lot. I've used when you guys saw my my direct drive mod for my Ender 3, that video there, I used HIPS for that, which is high impact polystyrene, which is one heck of a tongue twister, but you may know it by a different name as styrofoam. And that's basically what it is. It's a styrofoam style filament. Now it's a really cool, really strong material. It cracks just like ABS. However, it is extremely flammable. If you take a flame to that, it's not going to melt. It's going to combust. So when you see all these cool materials out there, and they do get progressively more expensive. I think I saw an email the other day where Filaments.ca has a new high temperature tolerance carbon fiber PL, or I think it's a PET G, or no, sorry, it's EcoTough PLA, and it goes for $70 a kilogram. And, I guess unless you're a commercial consumer, you're probably not going to need to go with something that fancy. So maybe give it a try sometime. Just don't buy a whole lot of it. I go through so much filament. That's why I primarily do PLA. Is because I probably have 50 kilos around here just because I go through so much. I can't afford to print too many exotics, but I do have, I think it's here, I think I got PCTPE that I've been sitting on for over a year somewhere. I don't know. I've got so many filaments to experiment with. I just want to get my machines dialed in first.
We got a question here from Jason Patton. He says, top of my print shows infill. Looks like skeleton around the edge. What causes this? Thanks. Love the show. Love having you, Jason. I would tell you exactly what's going on there. If your infill is showing through, you do not have enough top layers and you don't have enough walls or perimeter. That's usually what's going on. Or you've got too much overlap on that infill to the outer edges. But if it's showing through the top, chances are you don't have enough top or bottom layer.
Yeah, I'm also gonna try and pull up my Cura here because I do want to show you guys a setting that made a major change for me in the past week. I
have Cura actually running right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, let's have you pull up the Cura there, and I will tell you what to show here. So I want you to search up on your search settings. Type in wall because I don't believe it's exposed by default. So I always like to check. So if you scroll down to infill. I believe it's under infill. Let me check here. There is a setting for infill before walls. Can you see that one, the fourth from the bottom there? Now it's unchecked on yours.
Yeah.
With my Creality machines, if you go and check with your Creality profiles, I found this was actually enabled on the Creality profiles. And if you use that, what it does is it prints your infill before the outer walls. Now, what happens is if your infill swells a little bit there, as it's printing the outer walls, your nozzle actually catches on that and pushes the nozzle slightly out. And then you start getting more of a, I don't know if I can see it on this one here.
No, it's not
on this tiny
through.
No, but you will see that creeping through the edges. And if you turn off that feature, then it's going to print the outer walls first, and then any infill that overswells is going to swell onto the inside of the model, not the outside. And that's how you get rid of that skeleton look on the outside of your model. The other thing is, I always recommend at least 3 exterior walls. Perimeter walls also help alleviate that. But those 2 settings, you change those, and I think you're going to have a much smoother outside print. As for the top layers, I recommend usually a minimum of 6 top layers. It sounds like a lot, but 6 to 8 is really going to get you that clean top and cover up any holes.
I agree. Pab TV says, any comments on AFO Fireball, ABC fire extinguisher, fire suppression device, a fire safety product with sign?
Yeah, I've seen these. Okay, so all this is it's basically a chemical. It's a chemical fire extinguisher, and what it does is the exterior shell of it, when it gets hot enough, it melts and it just expunges this. I believe it's a powder that's supposed to suffocate any fire. Now, the problem with this, and this is kind of what I want you guys to understand, is when the machine combusts, there's actually no guarantee it's actually going to shut off all the power. And again, I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm going to mention it outside of videos because I want you guys to understand. Your biggest fire risk on a printer is the MOSFETs itself, because the MOSFETs, if they fail, are capable of failing either in the open position where there's no current flow or in the closed position where there's constant current flow. And even if the printer reports a thermal runaway, because there is no master cutoff of your 12 or 24 volt power bus going to your hot end or to your bed, even if it says thermal runaway and your beeper goes off, it's going to continuously deliver power from your power supply straight through to that component until the MOSFET physically melts and breaks your junction. So Richard is showing here a Creality board, and you can see the biggest heat sink at the top. Underneath there are 2 MOSFETs. There's a bigger one for the bed, and there's a smaller one for the hot end. And they're covered by 2 tiny chips there. So what you need to know, basically, is you can see they've got cooling plates there, but internally they can fuse themselves in the wrong position. So if you were to go and have it fail, it would be the equivalent of taking your power supply leads and hooking them direct to the bed and walking away. Now you tell me, if that bed is so hot that materials around it are combusting, until you physically reach the melting point of your solder, or you reach a point that the shielding of the wires melt and short to something, which causes a breaker down the stream to trip, it's going to keep on heating indefinitely. So these fireballs are awesome. They will go and suffocate that fire. However, once that is all expunged, and that bed is potentially still heating up, it can recombust, and then the fireball's not doing anything. So before you even buy all these fireballs, get yourself a battery-powered smoke detector and heat detector if you're really worried about it, and look into other auto cutoff means. A lot of times we've talked about remote monitoring through a camera system, such as a Wisecam, because they're cheap enough. And then you can get, for about $20 these days, you can get a Wi-Fi power receptacle, like a power outlet, that you can go and say, hey, something's not right there, and just hit the kill switch. And that will physically cut off the power.
Sorry to cut you off there.
Hey, no, not to worry, not to worry. I go on my fire spiel because I want people to be safe.
Yeah, me too.
And to understand what you're doing. A fireball, basically what I'm trying to get at, before I'm just going to quickly say thank you, Philip. I will get to your comment in a moment here. But guys, the fireball is a cool quick fix, but it's not going to 100% protect your printer if you were to have a true critical failure.
Correct. So, Philip, thank you very much for the $5 UK or £5. I guess that would be £5. A Merry Christmas to the entire TFL team. Thank you very much. We wish you all a very Merry Christmas as well. That's coming up. Like, it's the 20th. That's 5 days away now.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe. We have no snow here.
We don't have anybody to wake up at Christmas Day.
We have no snow. What was that, honey?
She has no one to wake up on Christmas Day. Yeah, you know what? You know what? It's going to be a nice, time. If there's any advice I can give you guys, take the next week.
We have nobody to wake up with at Christmas Day.
Oh, you got each other.
Yeah, we'll just stay in bed
we
for a while.
send lots of love across the way.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm just Pab TV was asking about the smoke alarm for 3D printer. If you're going to do this right,
guy
guys,
every day.
Yeah. Oh, you love him. Come on. if you're dealing with a smoke detector, if you really want to get it right, I do work in industrial control systems. What you want to get is you want to get a DC powered heat/smoke detector with relay contacts on the inside, and find something that's rated high enough that you can feed your entire printer's DC power system through it. And so if it detects anything, normally it has to close a contact when it powers on and it stays closed. And then if it detects anything, a fault or anything, it pops that contact, which completely de-energizes your printer. That's the safest way to go. I don't know if there's really any options on the market yet, but if you have a 24-volt system, good for you. Industrial control works on 24 volts, so you might be able to find a product. I'll let you guys know if I find something there. Pab TV, that Tindy product, I mean, for $30, it's still wireless, and if the device fails, it could fail. Again, this is your safety. Be smart about it.
Yeah, exactly. Before we move on, seeing as we've only got about 10 minutes left, I want to quickly, I need more buttons on my Stream Deck. I'm out of buttons.
How are you out of buttons? I thought we programmed, we need to program multi-screen again.
yeah, I'm out of buttons. If you've got any questions between now and the new year, we're not going to be answering email questions on the 27th. We're going to be focused on building a printer and then giving you guys our recommendations for how you should set your new printer up. But questions can come to questions@thefirstlayer.com. That is the only place we're going to take questions from other than the live chat. The reason is that if they come to my personal, they'll usually end up in my junk mail and I don't see them because I get so much mail in a day on that email address. Most of it's business related. If you send it to info@thefirstlayer, chances are it's not going to get seen because that is more behind the scenes kind of stuff. And again, those are people that are reaching out to us to maybe look at a product that they may want us to review in the future. So always send your questions to questions@thefirstlayer.com. If you have a question that you've put over on our Facebook group, there are a lot of people there that could probably answer it for you. I don't get as much time over there as I would like. My wife picks up the slack. Brian and Jess pick up the slack because I've got a lot of other things that I've got going on here in the studio behind the scenes. So please send all of your questions to questions@thefirstlayer.com. Now, what part of Canada are you from? Well, I'm from originally Ontario. I was born in Ontario, Kingston, Ontario. I grew up in northern Manitoba, a place called Thompson. And now I am living in Calgary with my wife, and Brian is in Okotoks, which is about half an hour from where I live. For me to drive to his place, half hour, 40 minutes.
About that.
Yeah.
We're about 80 clicks away from each other, 80 kilometers, 40 miles, whatever you want to say. And because everyone keeps talking about fire safety in the background, I'm just going to be like, everything's fine.
There you go. Dean Hines, he says, thanks for the show. Just received my artillery SWX1 V4, and it is fantastic. I used your advice for bed leveling with a piece of paper. It has worked flawlessly right out of the box. Awesome.
That's great.
We love to hear.
That's great. I've heard
Absolutely
great things about those
artilleries.
I'm just gonna go through this now. We're gonna talk about some Christmas wishes because my wish next year is not another Ender 3 clone. Please bring us something new.
Yes.
Please. I'm tired of Ender 3 and CR10 clones. I want to see something new. Creality brought out the CR-10S V2. I want to see more 500mm by 500mm printers. That'd be really cool to see. Micro machines, same sort of thing. Core XYs, absolutely.
Yep.
The Ender 3 design is proven. It's great, but people want to print bigger stuff. So OEMs, if you're listening, make us something big. Naomi Wu's printer, great direction. I do like the new creativity, but I want to see something bigger.
My Christmas wish for the new year, going into the new year, 3D printing wise, is I want to see some innovation in the firmware. I want to see more features in the firmware that are a little bit more user friendly. There are some great printers out on the market that are, for lack of a better word, they're Ender 3 clones, but they've stepped it up. And we're going to be talking about one of those printers on the 27th that we're going to build. They've stepped up their game a little bit, and they do a little bit of a better job when it comes to 3D printer. And they're not very well known. So we're going to talk a little bit about them when we go ahead and do that build on the 27th. You're all invited to the build on the 27th. Brian is going to be coming in remotely with me, and he's going to be answering some of the questions as I'm putting this thing together for you guys. It is not a 400 by 400, although we could do a 400 by 400, but we might save that for another video.
And maybe if things go well, you know what? If the assembly goes really quick and we're having a good day, maybe we'll do 2.
Maybe, yeah, maybe we'll do 2. I've got 2 printers here that we could do 2 with. So yes.
We picked it as a good day because we hope you're all not going out shopping on Boxing Day. Maybe you have a brand new printer and you just want to kind of follow along and chat with us while you assemble yours. You know, we want to hear about your struggles and your thoughts. Because we just, usually when you see our reviews, the printer is already built and ready to go. And that was thanks to all the companies we sent with that sent us a 4-screw install. So as a result, there really wasn't much to show. But we're not relating to you guys when you get your kit. The Ender 3 is a 4-bolt, but if you used to get a CR-10, that was, a 7 or 8 step install. So we want to kind of go through it with you, show you guys what you would get out of the box, and then show our tips and tricks to make sure you get that perfect first layer.
DeWitt says he has an Ender or an endoscope. You've got something like that as well, don't you?
Yeah, I've got one somewhere, a real cheap one that was on sale, I think at Canadian Tire one year for $20. I've got lots of cameras, I won't lie.
Doing a Guy the Jedi says, Brian, go pick up the other one and do a double build live. I would love to, actually. Doing 2 at the same time could be very confusing. So maybe we'll just make Sunday a long stream, and we might build 2 of them. Who knows? We may build one, we may build 2.
My laptop, luckily I have quite a beefy laptop, and so depending on how this week goes, you may see me on location down in my kitchen working on the big printer, and so maybe we'll be doing them both at the same time. Maybe we'll get a camera going in with the live stream of the printing. Unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see my big layer shift today. I will try and keep that on hand. It's a doozy, and it'll make you feel a lot better about your prints.
Yeah, right. So we've got lots coming your way before the end of the year, and I hope that you guys will join us. Super Chat will be turned on, so if you want to, you don't have to. It's not a requirement, but if you want to help out the show, it goes a long way for us to get more materials and new product and things like that that people aren't sending to us, like stuff like board and stuff like this.
And all of our machine reviews right now, we've been stuck on hold, guys. I mean, it's been a tough time getting in touch with OEMs, and so we're hoping to get a few hiccups. I think we've had like 3 replacements already sent to us of various printer reviews in the last month, just from arriving as a dud. So that's why you haven't seen a lot of videos dropping, is because we don't want to misrepresent a product either. Oh, big resin printer that's cheap. Oh, you bet, EDC for them. I'm still sitting on my Elegoo because I want one of those Frozens. $2,000 is so much, guys, so much.
Yeah, I want a big resin printer. I've got a lot of things I can be doing on a big resin printer, for my commissions. Right now, I'm still stuck with smaller printers, but hopefully.
Usually my weeks now involve me opening my YouTube subscription, seeing something cool Uncle Jesse printed with his, and I cry a little.
Yeah, me too. I want to remind you guys that if you are part of our Facebook group, and you see something from Mingda or you see something from another company, usually they're there because we've given them approval. We are working with Mingda behind the scenes a little bit. So you're going to see a little bit more of Mingda stuff coming out. Peter's asking what time on the 27th? Noon, Mountain Standard Time.
Let's do it noon. If there are any, maybe we'll put a poll up on the Facebook group just to cover our bases. If you guys are really concerned about that time, but we'll be about whether or not we are doing
he wants to have breakfast before he goes and does anything.
I put the time in there.
Yeah.
I put the time in there. So. With that said, guys, Merry Christmas to you all. It is the end of our show. We ran through an hour pretty quick.
Yeah, we had some great questions today, guys, and keep asking those awesome questions, because something that may be obvious in black and white to us is not obvious in black and white to other users. And the whole point of this is to communally discuss these issues and, have a safe and consistent response to what we are doing. So we've got all this safety information that we're happy to share with you guys. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I had to put that in. I'm sorry.
Okay.
DeWitt says, Merry Christmas, Richard, Brian, and everyone. Looking forward to an exciting 2021. Excited for your stream on the 27th. And we are excited to bring it to you guys. Merry Christmas to you all. I'm going to have a turkey sandwich, hopefully. No, we're not having a turkey, are we? No.
I didn't.
We have nothing for Christmas dinner. Nothing special. You can have hamburgers.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to make Christmas a junk food day. That's going to be it. I'm going to make a junk food.
Do you like ham?
I love ham. We have ham here. We're going to probably have some ham or a hamburger. And I promise I'll grow this back in the new year. Some people are freaked out.
If you don't, we're going to print you one out of TPU, and all I got is yellow. So
a yellow mustache. Is that anything like yellow snow?
It could be. Stand them.
So.
They're terrible.
Until we see you guys on the 27th, I want you to all have a great Christmas. Hopefully you get everything that you want. Have a great Boxing Day. We love you. We hope to see you again here on the 27th as we build a printer and guide you guys through it. And then we're going to take our little break until January and get you guys some brand new content for January. And
it won't be a break for us, but it'll be a content break.
Yeah, there you go. So until we see you guys next time, remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Bye.
Bye for now.
And we're out.